If you're not already subscribed to this YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button now, along with the bell icon so you can be notified whenever a new video is posted. And if you're already subscribed, check and make sure the YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. And of course, be sure to give the video a like as well as share it on your social media. The white supremacists hate that. And now, the Sunday address.
Flashback.
Now, of course, when it comes to the white media trying to make it sound as if the Democrat establishment just can't believe what it's seeing and such, let's be honest here. While he wasn't their first choice, the reality is he's still on the inside of the tent peeing out, and that's the part that's the most important to him. They would prefer somebody else, but if they have to, they will put up with this new guy if they have to. As Dr. Noam Chomsky said, the most sophisticated form of propaganda is when something presents itself as opposition, when in reality, it's actually support. A man who the white media tries to present as political disruptor and somebody who's really shaking up the system, but in reality, especially when push comes to shove, he knows what side his bread's buttered on.
6 months later.
And don't let anyone con you with this phony controversy that Mamdani is a socialist. Bernie Sanders is a socialist too. And what has he done for black people? Nothing, except tell us what he's not going to do. So family, don't let the white media sit here and repeat something to you to the point that you start to buy into it. We have to be careful about falling for controlled opposition. Just because someone from the dominant society takes a position that others in the dominant society, or even a majority in the dominant society, don't like, that doesn't mean that they're on our side or that they're even against the system. You can have loud and angry debates among white supremacists within white supremacy. You can have them openly fighting. Hell, they can even fight a world war. And yet, in the end, they'll always eventually bury the hatchet, and at no point in any of their conflicts are they going to change their stance regarding you and me. This white media is pretending to be shocked about this guy when we know that if he was truly a threat to the system, they would be giving him the Nate Parker treatment and demonizing him full time. They would be claiming that some white woman accused him of something, no doubt. They would be attacking him 24/7 if he was truly a threat. But he's not, any more than the socialist Senator Bernie Sanders is.
End of flashback.
New York's newly minted quote-unquote socialist mayor, Zoran Mamdani, went to meet with the Orange Man. And instead of the white media headlines all saying that this socialist firebrand bent the knee to the fascist, he sold out his voters, instead the white media headlines have been praising him for this visit. Mamdani says that his meeting with Trump was productive, the headlines say. The New York Times gushes Mamdani and Trump tamped down fears over National Guard in New York City. A far cry from how the white media had been talking about Trump and his troop deployments before. CNN, of course, pretty much set the tone for the rest of the white media. They praised Mamdani's visit and claimed that New Yorkers praise it too. Now, of course, this is some obvious white media manipulation, but they did it for a reason. They were quoting New Yorkers as saying things like, maybe we'll get some stuff for the subway. And another says, unfortunately, this is what you have to do. You have to bow down, praise him, and walk out and wash your hands after. And they end the piece with someone saying Trump continues to be the most transactional president we've ever had, and if people are smart, they find a way to give him something, and then he loves you and rolls out the red carpet. So New Yorkers apparently feel that the Orange Menace is somewhat reasonable, and that, well, if you just play the game, you can get exactly what it is that you need. Oh, how different this coverage is from what we've seen before. This is what New Yorkers think about Mamdani's trip to Trump. He was bending the knee, but according to CNN, that's completely understandable. You have to bow down to the Orange Man and praise him in order to try to get something from him, which is also the same attitude that the white media has about him as well. Keep in mind, stories like this, which are basically a sloppy kiss to Trump, that's the white media sending a message as much as anything else. When you see them quoting people as saying how transactional Trump is, that's the white media saying they want to make a deal too. All these white media outlets are owned by even bigger corporations who all want all kinds of goodies from the federal government they can get, and being on Trump's good side expedites that process. Just because people don't like Trump's policies or they don't like the man himself doesn't mean they don't want something from him. Now you got a whole bunch of people on the white left and their activist groups who are upset with Mamdani. Why is he going to meet with the Orange Man? Doesn't he know how evil Trump is? How could this socialist go and meet with a billionaire? Never mind the fact that Mamdani's own folks actually had some money that they got in Africa, by the way. And you notice that the white media doesn't have any quotes from anyone saying that Trump is a fascist and Mamdani's betrayed the voters. They didn't put that in any of their stories. Now, if the white media was really hostile against this so-called socialist, How come they don't take this as a golden opportunity to start the steady drumbeat against him and claim that he's sold out his supporters? It's because they don't want to encourage other people on the grounds of this person claims to be a socialist or somebody else who's going to give them heartburn on the issues. Mamdani is as much a tool as Donald Trump is. Officer Eric Adams of the NYPD also thought he was on the inside too, and in the end, he wound up thrown out with the trash. This game isn't about loyalty. For white power, it's about utility. Mamdani already knows that he was going to do this pivot. He knew it from the jump. His campaign rhetoric began to soften almost as soon as he realized he was becoming the front runner. And now he's not talking any of that iconoclastic stuff that he was before. He's actually hanging out with the billionaires instead of going to war with them. He's only 34, and to be mayor of New York City already, you better believe he's thinking that he can become president too. That's why being seen in the White House was important to him. He wants people to associate him with the presidency. And why not? The Democratic field is wide open for 2028, though I don't think he's quite reckless enough to actually run in 2 years since he doesn't quite have a track record behind him. But then again, Pete Buttigieg decided he was going to go ahead and throw his Burger King crown in the ring. So if that guy could try it, don't put it past Mamdani to throw his name in order to try to raise his political profile beyond the Big Apple. He's 34, so if nothing else, he's got time. Politicians are ultimately creatures of self-interest. What a shame that the Mamdani fan club didn't realize that. And how did I know that these white forces of power weren't doing 100% to take him down? How did I know that he was going to change his tune and begin making nice with the very people that he ran on a platform of challenging? Do I have a crystal ball that allows me to see the future? No. I have common sense that allows me to see the past. A lot of people thought that this guy was going to be the second coming of Barack Obama, and I told you that he was, just not the way that they thought. The people who thought to themselves that he was going to be banging the drum for Gaza, they're more than a little bit disappointed right now, but if they had been honest with themselves, they wouldn't be. This is the outcome that was always going to happen. There wasn't going to be some scenario where this guy becomes mayor of New York and he immediately decides, let me go ahead and go to war with Wall Street. I know what an all-or-nothing candidacy looks like. I know what somebody who truly wants to start a political fight does whenever they're running for office. And I also know what the reaction of the white media is when they see somebody who's actually serious about trying to change things. I didn't see any of those things with Mamdani or from the white media. It looked to me like the same old, same old. And sure, this guy claims to be a socialist, but so what? Bernie Sanders also does the same thing, and his fan club has also been disappointed by the fact that Bernie Sanders always seems to be missing on important votes. He never seems to take the stances that they need him to, especially at crucial moments. Yeah, if you didn't know better, you'd swear that these guys were basically using socialist as a form of branding. If the voters are angry, you go ahead and claim that you're going to be the voice of their anger. They'll get behind you, and then you give them tons of excuses for why you couldn't get anything done. And so long as you go ahead and hold on to the alleged title of being a socialist or whatever, there will be a number of them who will hold on to the dream that apparently you are different when in reality you're just more controlled opposition. And speaking of which, that brings us to Marjorie Taylor Greene. The congresswoman from Georgia has announced that she's going to be resigning from Congress in January. She says this is because Trump is encouraging Republicans to push someone to run against her, and she says she wants to spare her supporters an ugly political primary fight. This is doubly bizarre that she's pulling this move. She ran for re-election just last year. And not only did she win, obviously, but she won by a huge margin, 2-1. And that was just a year ago. Am I supposed to believe that in just 1 year, Marjorie Greene's support has cratered? That apparently she's got some sort of huge disapproval rating already after just a year? That doesn't make any sense. She won her public fight against Trump to force the disclosure of the Epstein files, so she obviously beat Trump in a policy battle on his own terms. She hasn't been and cannot get more relevant and influential as a Congress member than she is right now. So what does she do coming off of her huge political victory against Trump? She claims that powerful men are beating up on her because she's a woman and that she's going to leave Congress in a few weeks. She has a global platform, extremely high visibility, and a Secret Service detail. She's as well protected as an individual can be, and yet she says she has no choice but to resign for her own safety, which means that if she's still allowed a Secret Service detail, it's going to be significantly smaller, and there won't be so many eyes on her, at least when she wanders around in public, which means there won't be so many eyes on anyone else who's around her either. By her resigning so abruptly and blaming Trump, This only serves to further weaken him politically. It serves to take the MAGA faithful, who are all a bunch of extremists, and say if Marjorie Greene forced the disclosure of the Epstein files and she says that Trump is now against her, we're against him too, playing the damsel in distress. It's interesting how the MAGA males don't seem bothered that she's weaponizing her gender against a white man on this one. As usual, feminist tactics are perfectly fine with MAGA males as long as they're being used against someone they don't like. Once Trump went soft on the visa restrictions, these guys felt like he didn't deserve their support. They know what Greene's doing, and they'll let it ride if it gets them closer to what they want. As I've said before, I have every expectation that Greene is actually preparing to run for president. Stepping away from Congress is her attempt to reinvent herself. She's got to put some distance between herself and the swamp. And people have short memories, so as soon as she says that she's out of there, people will immediately feel as if she's been gone for years when it's only been a few months. That's why she changed the way that she speaks about people. She's being more diplomatic now, more statesman-like. Of course, this is weird as hell coming from her because for her entire political career, she's done nothing but throw pipe bombs at people and make one asinine spectacle out of herself after the next. Based on her behavior for the last 10 years, if you had told me that the old Marjorie Greene was running for president, I would expect Alex Jones to be her running mate. She was one of the originators of the kind of performative extremism that's now become the norm for the white right. She was publicly harassing kids who survived a school shooting and did it on camera boldly. She posted this display on her YouTube channel and then bragged that she was confronting these individuals. This was what she was doing in the days leading up to the pandemic, by the way. No social distancing from her and no common decency either. This is who she really is. What she's doing now is a pathetic act, and everyone sees right through it. Yes, the white media has a 5-minute memory, unless you're black, but the internet doesn't. Don't expect her to be doing all that Alex Jones QAnon nuttery that she was before. After she leaves Congress, I fully expect for her to be on TV a lot more, and I also expect the white media to be making nice with her too. She understands that if she's going to actually reinvent herself, she's going to need as much face time with the public as possible. She'll be telling people what policies that she wants to see enacted. That's what she's going to be doing. Former member of Congress talking about policies. Here's what we have to pass. And nobody's going to say, well, gee, couldn't you have actually done that better as a member of Congress? Oh, no. I couldn't stay any longer. Just couldn't stay. What she's going to be doing is actually presenting her presidential policy slate. Now, I'm not saying that it's 110% guaranteed that she's going to run, but I am telling you that based on her behavior and how she's positioned herself, she's definitely thinking that she can run. Her real audience for this new adult acting version of herself are the deplorables in MAGA land. Defying Trump and taking him on over the Epstein files, that was her first big political test. She was making it very clear she wasn't taking orders from this man anymore. And more importantly, she was going to do something that he saw as detrimental to himself. The fact that Trump called her and Nancy Mace to the White House and that neither one of them backed down, and Greene wanted to be the first one on camera saying, oh yeah, I met with the president, but I couldn't remain quiet. And then for this bold gamble to pay off to the point that Trump had to change his tune and say, well, on second thought, I'm going to support it. After that, clearly the tail was wagging the dog. It was no longer Trump who was in charge of the MAGA movement. Now it seems that at the very least Marjorie Greene managed to elbow her way into the driver's seat, at least for a moment anyway. What this did was this told Greene and a lot of other people how weak Trump's position truly is. The only thing that Marjorie Greene is scared of is missing an opportunity to climb the political ladder, and her political tone has been, for lack of a better word, softening for weeks now, before the Epstein files vote took place. That means that she's been thinking about doing this for a while. There is a clear schism in MAGA. This is evidenced by the fact that right-wing mouthpieces like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson have broken away from their own restrictive right-wing media paymasters, and both of them have been attacking those same paymasters and their interests. And rather than being immediately destroyed, they've instead grown in popularity and clout, and the people they used to work for have seen their own power diminish. Even clowns like Nick Fuentes have seen their own notoriety increase. The political center of gravity is undergoing a shift, and there's a lot of people on the white right who are eager to position themselves advantageously. Trump is not a dead duck, but he's definitely a lame one. A lot of the MAGA faithful are losing faith in their orange messiah, and as a result, a lot of them may be looking for a new political home. Greene is positioning herself to offer precisely that, a place for these disaffected and disillusioned MAGA types. That's why she's taking a hard line on visas, and basically saying that she would actually come through on the policies that Trump hasn't. So you notice how quickly things have changed. And notice that we're not hearing any more scare talk about Project 2025. Interesting how everyone suddenly forgot that they were in mortal terror that Trump was going to cancel the elections, declare himself dictator for life, and abolish the Constitution. Instead, the exact same people who told you and me that his re-election would be the beginning of the American Gestapo, they're now talking the same way that they do every election cycle. In fact, they're now positive and anticipating a blue wave next year that's going to sweep them back into power. And yet, predictably, none of them is talking about what the voters, especially black voters, are going to get. Even now, none of them's interested in offering the voters anything. Instead, it's just more empty happy talk. Hope is just around the corner. This was the plan from the very beginning, to get something for nothing. The plan was always about scaring people to the polls to uphold a system that isn't offering them anything. When the scare talk failed, they had to try to save face by pretending that this was the beginning of Nazi America. But they knew this political theater wasn't working. Some may be asking, what about J.D. Vance? Surely he's going to run in 2028, right? Trump didn't pick Vance because he wanted a worthy successor, and he didn't choose the guy because of his brains. He chose him for the exact opposite reason. He's an empty vessel. Trump wanted a vice president this time who would be a more reliable tool than Mike Pence proved to be. Vance doesn't have a following of his own. He doesn't have the charisma or the knowledge to become a major political leader. And the way things are going, Greene and others have already been scheming ways to push him aside when the time comes. And while we can all get our jollies by pointing to the political infighting and palace intrigue on the right and the political disillusionment by the Mamdani fans on the left, the reality is none of this changes our mission. The entire point of this Sunday evening address was to remind you that when you get past all of the phony hysteria and all the screaming and the yelling that the white media likes to put up, at the end of the day, you notice how these guys always seem to be acting in their own interest no matter what they tell you. It doesn't matter if it's your socialist on the left or if it's your right-wing firebrand on the right. As soon as they spy an opportunity to gain something for themselves, they'll change on a dime. The same people who were claiming that they were going to go to war with the billionaire class, now Mamdani's hanging out with Trump for the weekend. And the same people who were saying that they were with Trump for life, as soon as they see an opening for themselves, well, Trump scares me so much, and I sincerely hope that you'll stand with me against him. That's what these guys are always doing. But what they're not doing is they're not saying what you and I are going to get. This is the white media trying to give a new lease on life to pro-wrestling politics, which is what the United States has been for the better part of half a century. Well, I don't watch pro wrestling, and I'm not interested in having some slick-talking shyster tell me all these things that I know that he's not going to do. I know the difference between people who are actually interested in changing things and those who are not. The ones who are serious, they come and actually talk to me and tell me personally what I'm going to get. They don't show up with platitudes. They show up with solid pledges. And if I see the white media is not attacking them 24/7, if the white media is not really going in and doing every grimy, dirty thing that they can to sink that person, that's how I'm looking and going, obviously the white powers that be don't think he's too much of a threat. Hype is one of the propaganda tools white supremacy uses to exercise soft power. By getting people to get excited about something. Either they make you irrationally happy like they did with Barack Obama, people getting jolly for no reason, or they try to make you irrationally terrified. We already saw that with all the fear-mongering against Trump. But in the end, no matter how much scare talk they do, when it comes time to actually look at what happens, that's going to show you whether or not they actually believe that there was any real threat. And what they're saying is, New Yorkers are just fine with the fascist regime. This in the heart of the white media in New York City? Yeah, that tells you everything you need to know. And the main thing I hope it tells you is that if the white media is presenting someone to you, either on the white right or the white left, no matter their rhetoric, the only thing you can count on from them is not sticking to their political positions, but rather sticking to their own personal interests. Well, you better do the same. Good evening, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Frederica Moore, Wally Bilal, Lamont Ingram, Leonard Cottingham, and Wesley Monroe. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.